Hello, dear friends. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome into the channel. If this is your first time here, thanks so much for being here with me. My name is Paul. I am a professional game master and personal chef based out of Denver, Colorado, and I do a lot of tabletop gaming content here on my channel. And today we're doing another episode of what we call pop culture character sheets. And we are doing, if you are at all familiar with fantasy books, you probably recognize this picture in the background. We are doing Moiraine Damodred, or Moiraine Sedai, to use her official title, from the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson. Brandon Sanderson hopped in and helped to finish the series after Robert Jordan passed away. So this is a character that I think is just begging for the tabletop treatment, as are many of the Wheel of Time characters. It's a series that is very near and dear to my heart. I read these books a lot as they were coming out. I would reread the series as each new installment came out, and so I've been through the series a number of times. That habit dropped off a little bit near the end when the books got to be numbered in the 9, 10, 11 area, but I have read through the entire series from book 1 to book 14 twice. And the earlier books several more times than that, as well as a habit that I had when I was a young teenager, partly, I think, based on my love of the series, but also partly my ADSD and ADHD contributed to me loving these books so much that I wanted to kind of type them out. And so I would have the book open and I would just type it out and I would just absorb every detail of the world that way. So it's not the whole series, but I did make it all the way from book 1 to book 6 that way. So it was a way for me to pass time. I didn't have I still don't have much of a social life, but I definitely didn't have one when I was younger. And so this is a way for me to just really dive in and absorb something that I truly love. And so this character is really wonderful. We're actually going to be making a more high level character, and so she will have all of her abilities that you'll see throughout most of the book series, and I wanted to really be able to highlight that with some kind of high level abilities. And so we will be making a character who is, I mean, we've been doing at level 5, but today we're going to be making a character who is class level 11. So, and that'll be a multi-class as well. So, pardon me. One, we haven't made a female character yet, which I'm really excited about doing that. I want to really highlight the wonderful women in fiction and fantasy and science fiction. So we're going to really start diving into some of the women and girls in females in fiction with some of our character sheets. And Moiraine is one of my favorites, so I really wanted to start with her. And she is played really well by Rosamund Pike in the TV series. I think it's Amazon Prime series. I don't remember for sure, but the character is portrayed really wonderfully. And then nothing against Daryl K. Sweet, who is the artist for the original hardcovers of The Wheel of Time, but this portrait by Dan Dos Santos is really wonderful. I really like the artwork and how he portrayed Moiraine. There's several items, key items about her that are portrayed right here in the artwork that we will also be transcribing onto her character sheet. But I have my virtual tabletop pulled up so that we can kind of go through this process of character creation together. Most of my character sheets I have had at least partially made beforehand. This one we're flying a little bit by the seat of our pants. I have some idea where I want to go with this, so we're not completely going by scratch, but we will definitely. It'll be a little bit more raw even than the ones that are already a little bit raw that I've done in the past. So one of the things that Maureen likes to say is that the wheel weaves as the wheel wills, and that is kind of in all like semi or pseudo religious saying, basically submitting to the idea of fate or destiny. Moiraine in the Wheel of Time plays the role of the kind of mentor or older, wiser individual who arrives to guide the younger characters as they progress and go through their early character arcs, and acts as a sort of guide, mentor figure, almost like a Gandalf. Not quite that kind of quite that iconic, but almost. I mean, Moiraine is incredibly powerful when it comes to magic, and then another reason why I wanted to make her a high level character. We are just going to put her class as Aes Sedai. So Aes Sedai are the people in the world of the Wheel of Time who can wield Saidar and Saidin, which are the two kind of interweaving flows of magic in the world. Saidar is used by females, Saidin is used by males, and the Saidin side has been tainted by the Dark One, or like the ultimate evil character in the world. And so many of the male magic users in this world end up going insane because of their powers. And so they are often hunted down and silenced, and so they are unable to use their abilities. However, Moraine has studied prophecy and a lot of the history of the world, and has come to the village of Two Rivers at the beginning of the series to find a young person that she believes is the dragon reborn, or the reincarnation of an ancient king. And so she wants to basically help guide him to fulfill his role without submitting to the madness, or somehow avoiding submitting to the madness, or at least having the proper guidance as he learns his powers. So Moraine is there to kind of help guide him as he learns these things. Moraine is a human. I know I'm going to be jumping in and out of lore of Wheel of Time. I cannot stress enough how awesome this series is. As you will hear from anybody who has read the series, is that it is a long series. It's 14 books long. It is incredibly long, and there is a stretch in the middle that slogs a little bit. The narration and writing is still great, but there's so much going on in the world that I think near the end of his life, Robert Jordan was just having a difficult time basically keeping up with all of it, you know. And I think what ended up happening then after he passed away and Brandon Sanderson kind of took the reins is he cut off a lot of those things and just kind of really focused on the main story and the really super important things, and ended up creating an ending to the series that was really, really wonderful. I loved those last three books that Sanderson wrote. I thought they were fantastic. So uh, if you are into fantasy books, please read The Wheel of Time. It's amazing. It really, really is, and it is worth your time. Take it slow. Take it slow. Absorb the world. Watch videos or listen to podcasts that kind of do read-alongs or whatever, because that will help you kind of digest. There's hundreds of characters in this series, and so it can be kind of difficult to keep track of everything. But if you are into fantasy, it will change your life. It's an amazing, amazing story. So so here we go. We are going to create Moiraine Sedai. She is a member of the Blue Ajah. The Ajahs are different sects of the Aes Sedai, coordinated by colors that fulfill different roles within Aes Sedai society. So the women of the Blue Ajah are the basically the diplomats and ambassadors to the world for the Aes Sedai. Uh, as examples of others, the yellow Aja are the healers. They specialize in healing abilities. The green Aja are the battle Aja, and they study spells and magic that will, in channeling, that will create, walls of fire and things like that. Not to say that if you are Blue Aja, you cannot do those other things, or vice versa. You can definitely learn to channel the different weaves of power in different ways, and so you'll see that with Moiraine. She actually has a lot of skill in healing, and so we want to kind of focus on that as part of her abilities. But we're gonna start with just some of her basics. I clicked over, if you can see here at the top, there are some different tabs. This is Fantasy Grounds. I use Fantasy Grounds as a virtual tabletop for a lot of my online sessions. It's really wonderful. To be fair, completely honest, it's not super user friendly for beginners. However, if you really dig in and kind of learn some of its systems and how it's organized, it's got everything you need to run a really, really wonderful game. So, not a sponsor or anything. I just really like Fantasy Grounds, and I think it's really great. So, we are going to start with her size. As a human, she will be a choice of either medium between 4 and 7 or small, about 2 to 4 feet tall. So, as a human, it is mentioned in the book that she is from the city of Cairhien, which is a large kind of capital city in one of the bigger nations of the world. In Cairhien, a lot of the people are more short and slim in stature, and Moiraine is described as such. And so a lot of readers have estimated she's probably about 5 to 5'2", and so we're gonna put her at medium size. Obviously, Rosamund Pike in the TV series is quite a bit taller than 5'2" or 5 feet, so I think they just kind of took some liberties with that. But in the book, she has long dark hair and is kind of petite in stature. So we're going to select medium for her. Now, I selected Common Sign Language as one of her languages, so we can actually pump that in right here. So we're going to have her ability to speak Common, and then Common Sign Language, and then the kind of bestial or evil species in the books are called Trollocs, Trollc, like trolls, but Trollocs with an OCS on the end. They are these kind of large, hulking beasts with animal features mixed in with human features, and they kind of serve as the foot soldiers of the evil forces. And there isn't really such a thing in the universe of D&D, and so instead I selected orc or orcish for her to be able to speak, because I think that kind of fits in with that. Um, Forgive me, I have a little bit of fall allergies, and so my eyes are a little bit itchy today. But as a human, she also automatically gets the resourceful trait. And we've seen resourceful put up on all of our previous character sheets, because all of our characters so far have been human, if I'm not mistaken, and so you would see this one pop up a lot. As we go through with different pop culture characters, you'll see other species coming up, but humans gain this, and we'll just kind of pump this in right here and give the player, if they're going to use this character sheet, the opportunity to read a little bit about it. So they gain heroic inspiration whenever they finish a long rest, which means that anytime they take a break from their adventure, their characters take a break and rest for at least 8 hours, they will gain heroic inspiration, which means they have this little checkpoint right here that they can check, and it is a kind of a bank that they can use that will allow them to gain advantage on any skill check. So if I, as the dungeon master, ask for Moiraine to give me, say, a uh, persuasion check, and the player is not feeling super confident about it, they can say, I'm going to use my heroic inspiration here and give myself advantage, and they would be able to roll twice and take the highest result. So it is kind of a nice thing to have there. And your game masters or your dungeon masters will hand those out kind of arbitrarily, kind of up to them, depending on how you are playing or what your character may do. It's called heroic inspiration, meant to be something that if your character does something heroic, they will have this inspiration point to spend. But if a player does role playing really well, or really comes up with an amazing idea for how to get through a scene or something, your GM may say, you know what, take an inspiration point because that's really cool, and they'll just like kind of hand it out essentially, so that the player can have that reward for later down the road. So any human just kind of automatically gets one of those points anytime they rest. So here we have the choice. Oh, I minimized it. Let's not do that. The A choice of origin feats for Moiraine. So Moiraine can choose to be alert, or be a crafter, be a healer, be lucky, or be a magic initiate. All the way down this line that you see here, different things will give her different abilities. However, I do think that she has this kind of focus on healing. So this is something we need to really think about. That should be one of our probably one of our top choices. Moiraine is not an initiate. She has a lot of spells and skills at her disposal, and so I don't know that choosing an initiate for her would really be a good choice. So I am thinking I want to lean into the healing side of things, so that she can maybe even y- be able to give healing to other characters without diving into her spells, because as you can see here, this says if you have a healer's kit, which is like a small first aid kit, or herbalist, not an herbalist kit because that's a separate thing in D&D, but a healer's kit would just have certain healing items, bandages, poultices, things like that. You can expend one use of it and tend to a creature within 5 feet of yourself as an action. That creature can expend one of its hit point dice, which we'll get to with Moiraine here in just a second, but um, every character has those for themselves, so they would spend one of their own, and then Moiraine would roll that dice, and then that creature would be healed uh, by whatever that number is plus proficiency bonus. Since proficiency, this is kind of the first mention of our proficiency bonus. We've been doing characters at level 5 who have a proficiency bonus of +3. Between levels 9 to 12, I think it is, the proficiency bonus bumps up to +4. So she will get a +4 proficiency bonus. So like it's saying here, when you roll that, the roll plus your proficiency bonus, it would be +4 in Moraine's case. And then also, whenever Moraine rolls a dice to determine the number of hit points she's going to restore with any sort of magic spell, or with the battle medic thing above, she can re-roll it if it comes up as a 1. So if she gets the lowest possible roll, she can say, nope, that's not acceptable. We're going to try again. We're going to kind of like really focus and channel and like try again, and we'll take that next result, and instead of the 1. So I do think that we are going to select healer. You see, as we select, it kind of shrinks a lot of our choices down until everything's kind of filled up. But last but not least, she is skillful. So she gets to choose a proficiency in one skill of her choice. And so this will list off all the skills that you see in this kind of left-hand side of the character sheet over here, from acrobatics all the way down to survival. So we have a few choices to make for Moraine as far as just her basic skills. I think Arcana is almost it's like a kind of a no-brainer with Maureen because she is so skilled with those sorts of things. And so I know with other choices that we see up above here, these other tabs that we'll go to, she'll have the choice of other proficiencies as well. But I think first one that we're gonna pick that um, is Arcana. So um, then we're going to come over to our class. So we've selected a lot of the basics about Maureen, as far as like her name, what level we want her to be, her size, what languages she speaks, etc. But this is where we get into the meat of her abilities. So classes. I want her to be a multi-class because I think there are abilities and options within different classes that I think will be fun to add in to Moiraine to really flesh out her character. So I gave her, she's level 11, so I gave her 5 classes in Sorcerer, 3 classes in Wizard, and 3 classes in Cleric. So in D&D terms, sorcerers are innate magic users. They are the ones that can pull magic just from their very being. It's just kind of something that they are born with. Wizards, on the other hand, are magic users who have studied, have gone to maybe a school, or have found arcane tomes that they have learned their skills from. And then a cleric in D&D are almost like half warrior, half magic user, in that they have some abilities on the battlefield, but then they also have a connection or a relationship to a deity or a god in the D&D universe that helps them to that supplies them with some of their magical abilities. So I wanted to kind of do all of those for Moraine. So let's jump in. Proficiencies for sorcerer. We're gonna start with that. I think that not only we have a smaller window here. It's not as many choices. We have deception, insight, intimidation, persuasion, and religion. I do think that Moraine is knowledgeable in the religion of the world of the Wheel of Time. Now, I don't no, religion really doesn't feature too heavily within the Wheel of Time. They have a magical system, and they tend to maybe not worship but revere the heroes and legends of the past. They also their curses or their swear words pertain to the fate of one of their ancient heroes who essentially went mad and burned, like killed everyone around him in this kind of insane fit, and then ended up realizing what he had done, and then consumed himself with fire. And so the one of the main curses or swears of the world is blood and ashes. If somebody sees something, they will exclaim, "Oh, blood and ashes!" And that's just an expression based on something that happened many hundreds of years before. So it's just kind of it. That's kind of how they see a lot of their past figures as figures to look up to and revere and talk about, but not necessarily worship. There really aren't very many gods mentioned in the Wheel of Time. So religion is questionable, but I do think that anything that would pertain to that area would be something that Moiraine would probably know about because she studies a lot. She studies prophecies. She studies other cultures who do have religions and knows a lot about them. And so I think that religion would be a big thing for her. And then I do think insight would be another thing. I think that she's very insightful and able to read people really well, able to kind of tell what their motivations are, and and kind of interact or communicate or work with them based on that, you know. Meta magic. Now here's where we really can get into some fun stuff with the sorcerer class in D&D. You have some choices here for different ways that you can boost your magical abilities when you're using them in the game. So I'm going to select just a couple here that we will kind of we may dig into just a little in more detail, but I'll kind of go over just the basics. That empowered spell will add extra, damage or power to different spells that you are using, and then I am also going to add distant spell, which extends the range. If a spell only has a range of touch, if you have to touch, then it extends the range out to several meters. And then if it's several meters as a range, then it goes even, you can go up to, I think, something like 40 meters or 120 feet-ish, so that's, I think, something that Moraine would would lean into both aspects of that. That she would be able to boost her abilities just by kind of channeling that magic within herself. She also has access to items and relics that would boost her abilities too. So I'm kind of mulling over in my head how I might want to work that into her character sheet. But for right now, I think that's those are some good choices. So um, her sorcerer subclass. So, aberrant sorcery would be a sorcery that um, kind of really like it involves a lot of just like what's going on in your mind. Is there some kind of an influence in this person's mind that's giving them this ability or anything like that? I don't think that really fits. Clockwork sorcery. Um, Cosmic force of order has suffused you with magic. That power arises from Mechanus or a realm like it. So I think that's probably not very fitting either. Draconic sorcery. So here's something that I think is kind of interesting because Moiraine is on the hunt for the dragon reborn, someone who is known as, as the dragon as part of their title. I do think that draconic sorcery might be how we could play into that aspect a little bit. And it's um, essentially saying that the dragon in the Dungeons and Dragons universe, that dragons or draconic influence has entered into either your bloodline or your abilities in some way and has given you these powers, right? So I think draconic sorcery is what we're going to choose for Moraine. The last one there, wild magic, is something that adds a chaotic or random element to a sorcerer's abilities. Uh, Depending on what you do or what magic you cast, you then end up having a wild magic roll, and that's a D100, and you have different effects depending on what it rolls from 0 to 100, and that's a lot of effects. It's not 100 effects. They're lumped into, I think, groups from 0 to 3, you get this, and from 3 to 6, you get this, so it's like between 30 and 50, I think, things, but it's still a lot of effects that you can get that just kind of pop up randomly. And it can be incredibly chaotic. You can turn people into animals. You can create blizzards. You can make people disappear into the astral. It's like it's all kind into the astral plane. It's like all kinds of different things that you can do with with wild magic, but it's really unpredictable. And I don't think that's Moiraine. I don't think that is her character. So I think we're good with that draconic sorcery. So ability score improvement, also known as an ASI or ability score increase. When you hit certain levels for sorcerer, it's at level 4. You get the option you can do that, or you can select a feat. Now, I'm gonna kind of just play around with Maureen's statistics or her scores, her attribute scores when we get to there. But uh, that being said, I think I want to choose some more feats for her to have. And again, as you can see, there are a lot to choose from in D&D. And so we are going to just kind of quickly scan through these. One thing that happens is you could get Warcaster, which would add advantage on Constitution saving throws to maintain concentration. And then you can take a reaction to cast a spell at a creature instead of using an opportunity attack when they leave your area. So a lot of times, if you're playing a martial class and someone disengages or tries to leave, you can try and make an attack on them. But instead, this makes it a spell, so you can just like maybe zap them with something or I don't know. And then somatic components. Somatic components are coming up when you actually some game masters will keep track of components for spells, others won't. Most components are broken down into verbal, somatic, um, and don't I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the last one, but it's like saying things using gestures or having ingredients and actually like grinding up like Eye of Newt and and all of that stuff into ingredients for your spell. So some game masters will ask you to keep track of those things, others won't. I particularly don't. I think you can I like to keep track of the verbal and the gesturing aspect of things so that if someone's hands are tied or their mouth is shut, it will affect their ability to use magic. But if they don't have the diamond needed to cast a certain spell, they don't need to save up the 1,000 gold in order to buy that diamond. So like I want to open up the abilities to use these magic spells a little bit more. So I don't keep track of those ingredients and that side, those components. But somatic components, it's saying you can perform those components. Those are, I think, the gestures. Even when you have weapons or a shield in your hands. So even if you have like a dagger or something, you can still cast a spell in the middle of having those things in your hand. So I'm thinking I don't know. Let's go up the spell just a little bit, or up the list just a little bit more. Spell Sniper. The spells will ignore cover, which is kind of nice. Um, Ignore half and three-quarters cover, not total cover. You can cast within melee range without getting disadvantage on the attack, and then you have an increased range for your spells. So Spell Sniper also seems really good. Um, and I know we're gonna have some more options and things that we can add in. So I am going to probably just make a quick decision and say Spell Sniper because I like the sound of that one. It seems like I could see Moiraine zapping someone with a ranged spell even when she's close, or something like that. Or zapping kind of past cover and stuff like such as those things. So um, then I think that is everything for our sorcerer side of things. We haven't talked about any of her actual spells yet. We're going to get to that. We haven't talked about any of her stats yet. We'll get to that too. This is more kind of just kind of narrowing down who she is and who she's going to be. So it says also Sorceress Restoration. She will regain some of her sorcery points even when she just does a short rest. But then after doing that once, she needs to take a long rest, and then everything comes back. So that's the sorcerer side of things. Let's jump into wizard. I gave her 3 levels of wizard, which just kind of gives a few different things: arcane recovery, ritual adept, which are kind of nice little things, depending on if the spell she's casting requires a ritual to be performed. Scholar, she will have an extra proficiency in or not even proficiency. This will be her expertise. Expertise. So I think I want to put that into medicine. I think that her expertise uh, kind of kind of calls for that. And then let's talk about her subclass as a wizard. Abjurer, study of magic is focused on spells that block, banish, or protect, ending harmful effects, banishing evil influences, and protecting the weak. Definitely something I could see Moiraine doing. Council of a Diviner is sought by those who want a clearer understanding of the past, present, and future. Diviner is not really super fitting for Moiraine. That's not something she tends to do. She does study prophecy, but she doesn't really do it much herself. So I don't think that really applies. This is something to think about here is the Evoker. She creates powerful elemental effects such as bitter cold, searing flame, rolling thunder, crackling lightning, and burning acid. So Moiraine does have skills in summoning weather. There's a power called cloud dancing, or talent called cloud dancing in the world of the Wheel of Time that influences weather and weather effects. So she is able to call in this really dense fog over an entire countryside, just as she's galloping on horseback, which, according to even herself, is something that not many women would be able to do in this world. So she does have a lot of powers in this area. So right now, I'm kind of leaning between Abjurer and Evoker. I think it could be one of either of those two. However, Illusionist dazzles the senses and tricks the mind. I don't think that one fits. I don't. So I think I'm gonna go with Evoker. I'm kind of just like I'm leaning more in that direction because of some of the things she does create. Some kind of earth tremors or earthquakes. She casts a wall of fire that keeps away a whole bunch of Trollocs and their kind of masters. These beings called murderals that are these cloaked figures with no eyes on their face. It's just bare skin and plain features, and they kind of chase after the main characters. And so Moiraine is able to hold them off with fire. I think Evoker is very fitting for that reason. So, Divine Order with the Cleric. I don't think again that she is um, that she's very religious. I just don't think that's really a thing in this world. But let's look at these. Protector, trained for battle, gets proficiency with martial weapons and training with heavy armor. I'm sorry, I just don't see Maureen doing that at all. But Thaumaturgy, one extra cantrip from the cleric's spell list and a bonus to intelligence, either arcana or religion checks equal to wisdom modifier. So I think we're going to go with thaumaturge. That's a kind of a hard word to say 5 times fast. Cleric subclass. All right, this is our last class choice to make here. We've got life domain, which focuses on positive energy that helps sustain all life in the multiverse. As a healer, I think that is something that would definitely be an option for her. The light domain emphasizes the divine power to bring about blazing fire and revelation. I just am not seeing that in Moraine. Trickery domain, I barely even have to think about that one. Magic of deception, illusion, and stealth. I think there might be some cases where Moraine might lean into the stealth side of things, but she's not really uh, a illusionist in that aspect of things. So, and then war domain. Um, they excel in battle, inspiring others to fight the good fight, offering acts of violence as prayers. That seems, it's like someone who will like charge into battle with a big shield and a mace as kind of that cleric warrior. So I just don't think that that's fitting either. So I am going to give her the life domain connection. And then once we finalize, we can talk about some of her other. This is going to be a little bit longer video, so if you're hanging out with me today, I appreciate it. This is fun. I really enjoy putting these things together and just rambling about D&D stuff. So this is great. So I think that's all for her class. Her background. Her background, let's talk about her background. She grew up as a noblewoman in Cairhien. She actually could have taken the throne as one of the potential heirs to the throne, but she basically stepped down from that option and pursued the life of an Aes Sedai instead because I think even at a younger age, I think she knew and was following some of those prophecies about the dragon reborn. And so she had been kind of plotting and thinking about uh, those those things and those prophecies for a very, very long time. And being a queen, being basically essentially stuck to her role as a queen of Cairhien would have stopped her from being able to do that. So I think she stepped down for that reason. However, she was a noblewoman in the past, and so I think we're just going to go with noble as her background. As you can see, this will give her proficiency in history and persuasion. She'll get tool proficiency with a kind of gaming set, which I think there's a few different kinds of gaming. I think there's even a game called Dragon Chess in the Wheel of Time. And then equipment, she can start with a gaming set, fine clothes, perfume, and gold, or 50 gold. I think I'll choose option A when we get to that because that's definitely more her style, having that kind of. She always is described as wearing a fine blue dress, and she has, her hair pulled back and has this kind of jeweled decoration hanging around her forehead and temples, and so she is definitely um, she exudes that kind of royal nature, even though she is not. She's no longer royalty, right? So, so yeah, strength, intelligence, and charisma as a boost here. We can boost all three of them by 1 point each, or we can boost one by two and one by one. So again, I'm gonna manipulate her scores a little bit when we get there, so I'm not gonna worry too much about that. And then her proficiency. Maybe Dragon Chess is just a thing in D&D and D and not a thing in the Wheel of Time. Um, so yes, regardless, there are other. I'm trying to. Why am I blanking? Wheel of Time um, are like games within the Wheel of Time. Is that a? Would that be? No, I don't want video games. Oh, Stones. Stones is definitely a thing. It's almost like Go, where different stones can kind of hop over and take other ones. So I do think, yes, I do think stones um, would be something that she would know how to play. There's a lot of strategy in that that pertains almost to political strategy just as much as military strategy. Um, so yes, I think we'll make her tool proficiency, gaming set, stones. Okay. All right. So her abilities. We'll go ahead and I like to just kind of give her a dice roll just to see kind of where we end up, and then I'll play around with them from here. I do not think going across the top here on our rows. I don't think Moraine is very strong. So I think, despite the fact that she has a +1 bonus, I think I'm going to give her a -1 so that she just has a straight 10 in that. Dexterity, I do think she's at least mildly dexterous, so I think I want to give her 2 points to give her dexterity of 14. She definitely is in situations where she's, like I said, galloping on horseback. She's getting into fights, both physical and magical, where she's needing to kind of run or jump in a certain direction. And so she definitely has some dexterity. She's not a tightrope walker or a Olympic athlete by any means, but she has her warder Lan for that. Warders are knights or warriors who protect their assigned Aes Sedai that they're kind of connected to. Um, so Lan would take care of that. Lan, we'll probably do a character sheet for Lan at some point. I would love to do character sheets. I mean, I'm gonna keep doing these pop culture character sheets. I really enjoy them, and so I will keep doing them. But yeah, I think we'll probably do one for Lan at some point. But in the meantime, I am going to give her 12 in Constitution because I think that um, she has been through a lot. She's still relatively physically small. She's not physically opposing, and so I want to reflect that at least a little bit in her constitution, not being super high, but at least give her that little tiny boost. And then here's where we're gonna be adding in some numbers. So I want to bump her intelligence up to 18 because I think that she is incredibly smart. She has been planning for this Dragon Reborn prophecy for decades, and she has been, with some of her compatriots, has been plotting and pulling the strings on things to kind of find this person for a very, very long time. And so that's something I want to reflect. She has a very high intelligence. She also has a very high wisdom. And so I think an 18 on intelligence and wisdom both is going to be really accurate for Moraine. And then finally, I thought about this a lot. I thought about like how I kind of wanted to do this because charisma is as a sorcerer going to be her main ability. Moiraine is not necessarily the kind of person who is going to be really isn't she's definitely not going to be very boisterous, and she might not even necessarily enter a room and just kind of take it over. She is, however, very noticeable. She definitely has the way she carries herself, the way she presents herself, the way she speaks is all very like both imposing and charismatic and draws people in. There's a scene at the beginning of the first book, The Eye of the World, where she stands up in front of the almost the entire village of the Two Rivers and tells them a story about their own past, about a tragic battle that happened on this very land, and has everyone's just like rapt attention. And so I think I want to give her that 18, 18, 18, 18. So I think we're going to give her really, really good stats all the way across the board on the kind of more internal or mentally focused aspect of things. So she's going to get a really good bonus to all of those skills. Equipment. I do think I want to choose that one with the gaming set, the clothes, the perfume, and then a spear, two daggers, an arcane focus as a crystal, a dungeoneer's pack, and 28 gold pieces. So let's choose that, and then we'll probably play around with that a little bit. So it's just asking me to finalize this. So her name, Moiraine, and then Damodred is her last name, Damodred. So that is going to be her name on her character sheet. And as a final step, it's asking me to select some more proficiency options here. So I think, as I just mentioned, I think that she would have some bit of performance. Um, Acrobatics and athletics, not so much. Animal handling, she rides a horse very well, but I don't know that she would necessarily be the best at handling all animals. I think investigation, definitely. Because as I said, plotting and planning and manipulating things to find one person in the entire world in a medieval age is quite a thing, and so that's definitely something I think that she would have. And then I think perception, just as the final choice there. And then we're gonna choose which of these to boost by +1. I think I want to give her the wisdom bonus in that. And then some cantrips. We get to choose a cantrip to start. So guidance will give someone a little bit of a boost on a skill check. Light is exactly that. It produces light. Mending can physically mend an object over a course of a few minutes. Resistance will allow you to add a resistance to either yourself or another person. Sacred Flame produces exactly that, a Sacred Flame. Spare the Dying allows someone to kind of recover from some of their death saving rolls if they are knocked unconscious and they are making death saving rolls. That can help with that. Thaumaturgy is just kind of is not is just a small magical effect that someone can do. So it can you know create a gust of wind or maybe push a door close or something like that. Uh, but um, but yeah, Toll of the Dead. What is Toll of the Dead? Oh yes, indeed. So that will just automatically give someone a necrotic damage, which is just kind of that gross like rotting dead damage. And then if it has already taken damage, if it is less than full health, it takes extra damage. So this is something that you can use on someone who is already wounded to make it worse. And then Word of Radiance. Um, Yes, radiant damage in just kind of an area effect around you, which is actually kind of a good idea for Moraine, because mending isn't really a thing. I mean, resistance definitely could be light for sure. I think Moraine would definitely just produce a light, but as something that I think she should be able to just do, I think being able to just like have that burst of radiant energy around her is something that I could definitely see Maureen doing. I can't think of any specific instances, but that definitely seems like something that she would do. And another expertise option. So here we're going to lean into expertise in Arcana, which just gives you even more bonus points. So let's pull her character sheet over, and we're going to transcribe some of this stuff onto her sheet. Um, and we'll talk about it briefly as we go. So we're going to plug in her scores here and her modifiers. So at a plus 10 or at a 10, she gets a 0 modifier. At a 14 in dexterity, she would get a plus 2 modifier. It's a plus 1 for every 2 numbers after 10, and a minus 1 for every 2 numbers below. So between 8 and 9, you would get a minus 1, but between 10 and 11, it's 0. And then at 12 and 13, it's plus 1. At 14, you hit plus 2, etc. So at dexterity 14, she gets plus 2. Constitution is at 12, so she would get a plus 1 modifier. Those modifiers will be added to any of her skill checks in that area. So if the GM asks for a just a constitution check, then it would be whatever is rolled on the d20 plus 1. If it is, however, a dexterity check, it would be plus 2, and so on. So here we have the 18, which actually comes out to plus 4, which is pretty substantial. Wisdom is at 19, but because we haven't hit that 20 mark, that is still going to be plus 4. Charisma also 18 and plus 4. So then we have saving throws. If she is asked by the game master to resist some poison or to hold her ground against some kind of like necrotic damage or something like that, maybe he needs a Constitution saving throw to take less damage from it, to kind of hold her ground and resist that damage as it comes at her. That will give a boost of her proficiency bonus plus her normal bonus. So normally would get plus 1. This is actually going to make it a plus 5, right? So it's still 0 and 2 for strength and dex. And then we give a extra saving throw. You only get 2. So we get the saving throw proficiency in charisma, which makes that a plus 8. And then these would be plus 4 each. So there we go. Now, her armor class. Armor class is basically, it starts at a base of 10, and then you add your proficiency bonus and your dexterity modifier, and then any armor that you might have. And so her armor class is coming up at 16, which is really great. She will be able to add her dexterity bonus to initiative rolls. Initiative rolls will determine who goes first in combat. When combat breaks out, you roll for initiative. Whoever gets the highest goes first, and it just goes down the list like that. She will get to add plus 2 to whatever she rolls. And then her base speed is 30 feet per round of combat. So when she moves during her round in combat, if she chooses to do so, she can move no more than 30 feet. That's the max. In which that can be used tactically in D&D battles, to kind of determine how close can you get to your enemy or how close can they get to you, etc. So And then passive perception is super high because of that wisdom bonus and such. So that is actually at an 18, which is pretty substantial. She's noticing a lot of things around her. The game master would take this number into account to tell Moiraine what she notices when she enters a room. Because she has that passive perception, she would notice an awful lot. So, something to bear in mind as a game master too, when you're playing with these higher level characters, is these numbers can start to really climb, right? So we're gonna bump over to her skills. So she gets, we'll just go down alphabetically from what's there on the left-hand side. So I know we're kind of jumping around a little bit on the right-hand character sheet, but it is what it is, unfortunately. +4 to animal handling. Arcana is where that expertise comes in. +12. Are you kidding me? That means basically every roll is at least a 12 in D&D. Now, if she rolls a 1, that could be a critical failure no matter what. Even with that +12 bonus, depending on how the game master runs their games, that could still be a failure. So, even with that +12, if you roll that 1 out of 20 chance, it could go badly for you. So, just keep that in mind, that like there's still a chance to fail even when you're really really good at something. Deception is +4. Then we have history with a proficiency. Check that one too. 8 there. And then insight is proficiency +8. Intimidation. Not, I mean, I think Maureen can be intimidated. +4 is nothing to sneeze at for bonuses. And I do think that she would still be somewhat intimidating, right? But perhaps maybe not as intimidating as, say, Lan, who's a big, tall man with a giant sword on his back. So, yeah. Medicine is +8. Nature +4. Not checked. Perception, performance are both +8. Sorry, I got the +8 there. And then persuasion and religion. Okay. Um, sleight of hand and stealth. I mean, just not. I think again there were cases where she was sneaky, uh, but not her strong suit. You know. But she is a survivalist. She survives a lot. So, and if you've read the books, you know how much Moiraine has been through and how well she was able to come out of it and and succeed when the odds were against her. Something I think to really be said for a lot of these characters. Um, for any of our heroes, right? You keep going even when it's hard. So, okay. So we don't need to put all of these onto her character sheet here. In fact, I won't because I think that's a lot, and we still need to talk about her magic skills. That's going to be a big thing. So we're not going to talk about too much of this stuff. If we look up front, starting from the bottom, a lot of these things we already know about. Let's see here, Sorceress Restoration. Um, is there a way for me, yes, to just copy and paste this? Copy. Let's see if this works. And then, hey, yeah, that'll make things a little bit easier. I don't have to type all this stuff out. So, Sorcerer's Restoration, we will add that in so people know if players are playing with this character, they know that they can rest and regain some of those abilities. Um, I think Ritual Adept probably is another one that um, we can paste over because that is it's going to change certain spells. Certain spells require there to be a ritual, and this will help to aid Moiraine when she is performing such deeds. So we'll do that one there. Um, let's see here. I don't want to have to do all of these because this is, I mean, multi-class characters. Multi-class characters, you're dealing with a lot of things that they can do, right? And so I think preserve life is another one. I mean, we probably will end up putting a lot of these over into her character sheet. So bear with me as we kind of talk about some of these things. I do think that preserve life is a big thing that provides healing for people around. Um, Potent cantrip, we'll want people to be able to reference that. Now, the reason I'm putting a lot of these things on the character sheet is because, unfortunately, we won't have room on the character sheet for all the descriptions of her spells. We can put the basics in, but we will need to. So you'll want to supply your players if they don't have the player handbook or the DM's handbook ready when you're playing D&D. You'll want to be able to supply them with the materials as just to give them the descriptions of the spells that they have at their disposal so that they know what their character is able to do to avoid it taking 20 minutes for them when it comes to their turn to figure out what they want to do or how they want to do it, right? So these are things that you want your player to be able to just look at their character sheet and know that they have. Um, including spells, including spells. I think if I was GMing for this character, I would have a separate sheet that was just descriptions, detailed descriptions of the magic spells. So they can have the name of it here on their sheet, but then they have the description and further details on a separate sheet available to them that way. So, whoops, I hit the wrong button. Well, that's too bad. What do I do here? Let's see here. Unlock, minimize, close. I don't want that one. I want potent cantrip. Can I undo? Hmm. See, these are things that just happen. Potent cantrip, is that that's a skill, right? Nope. Feats? I bet that's the one. Nope. Okay. Well, I may have just messed up my VTT just a little bit on that one description. Unfortunately, um, that's okay. We'll move on. I will figure out how to fix that or replace the description later. Um, let's see here. Life domain spells. We don't really need to note that like you can cast life domain spells. However, um, what is it? Arcane recovery. Yes. Okay. So this one. Make sure I hit the right one. Copy. Okay. So that will allow for recovery of um, some spell slots during during short rests. So allow her to recover her ability to cast spells after she takes some time off. You know. So lock that one back up. I think. Oh yeah, and I do want to include the let's see here. I think let's do bypass cover down to increased range and copy that over so that the player will know they have the following after that. So, okay. I think that's all for that. Inventory. Let's talk about our inventory very briefly. I'm trying not to make this video super long, but I'm already at an hour. That's incredible. Okay. Equipment. Oh, back. No, not caltrops. She does not need caltrops. We'll say fine blue dress for clothes. No crowbar. It's called a Cassira, which is the name of the little crystal that she uses. And then I think I will also give her a small dagger, gaming set, stones, oil. I don't think she carried any oil around. I think she definitely. I think she did have perfume, if I recall correctly. Um, just has a vial of that. We will give her a few rations. I mean, I don't see her carrying a ton. I think that's probably more Land's thing. Rope, spear, tinderbox, I think is definitely. I don't think she would carry a torch. She would probably just find one, and then the water skin. Okay. And then it said 57 gold pieces altogether. Cool. Okay. So that's just her inventory. Notes are going to be personal things that the character or the player or the game master could add in if they want to. We're not going to do that right now. These are a lot of things that she can do on her turn, or not at one on her turn, but like during, during her turn in combat or outside of combat, if she chooses to use these abilities, they are available to her. So there's a lot here, and I think in order to avoid confusion, we are going to instead, we are going to minimize this one and instead pull up the list of spells. This will be all the spells that are available in D&D. So we need to probably there's a lot here. I understand that. I don't know that we need to necessarily go through all of them. We won't, 'cause that'd be a very, very long video. So let's just kind of scroll down here and start looking for things that um, catch our eye. Speaking of eye, arcane eye. What is that? Create an invisible, invulnerable eye within range that hovers and you can receive visual information. I don't see her sending out a drone eyeball in that regard. Arcane Gate. Create linked teleportation portals. Hey, here we go. So in the Wheel of Time, there is a talent called traveling. Traveling allows you to create doorways that are essentially portals to another spot in the world. Uh, this is something that not very many channelers in the world of the Wheel of Time are capable of doing. It is something that it is mentioned several times that Moiraine has the ability or the power, the capability of doing, but I don't know that she ever actually does. She has a lot of other things with her magic, but I don't know that she ever actually does create portals. But I think it would be interesting to give her that option. So, um, this will be slightly disorganized according to level, but it will be alphabetical. So if players want to look it up, they can look it up by the name instead of finding all of level 1 spells, all of level 2 spells, etc. So, level 6 spell called Arcane Gate. Now, that will allow for teleportation portals, choosing spots uh, that you can see, one space within range and the other within 10 feet. And it ranges up to 500 feet. So these are relatively shorter distances. In the world of Wheel of Time, you can do it all the way across the world if you want, and if you can, if you have that power. So this is a little bit more limited. So regardless, we will definitely be using this one. Casting time is action, range 500 feet. Concentration, ritual, and required material. Concentration, we will check that one, yes. And then I will make a note here that just says up to 10 minutes. Okay, so that they know it's concentration, but you can still only do it for up to 10 minutes. You can only hold that door open for so long. Okay. So that's the first thing. Armor of Agathis is nice to boost defense, but I just don't see Moiraine doing that. Aura of Life. An aura radiates from you. You and your allies within that aura have resistance to necrotic damage, and your hit point maximums cannot be reduced. So, um, and if an ally with 0 hit points starts its turn within the aura, that ally automatically regains 1 hit point. So I think that's another one that we're going to add to Moraine's portfolio, right? So Aura of Life, that is also in action. Range on that is self, and then concentration up to 10 minutes. Okay. So, yeah, we'll move on from the Aura of Life. Else do we have? Aura of Vitality is a healing aura. So we're going to do that one as well. I think that one is very appropriate. And so their action and self concentration, but this one is up to 1 minute only. Okay. What else do we have? Bane. Yeah. Okay. That is, it's basically a penalty to your enemies, and something that is definitely useful when you are surrounded by several creatures at once. So I think, wish it would let me tab over, but it tabs down instead of over on this one. Action in range is going to be 30 feet. And then concentration up to 1 minute. Okay. And then as that spell, as you advance with that, you can choose to target more creatures than just 3. You can target, several more. So yeah, that's definitely useful against those Trollocs that we talked about earlier. Banishing Smite. That is for paladins only, so it does not apply. However, banishment transporting to a demiplane for the duration of a spell. Um, no. No, I don't think that one applies. Um, Beacon of Hope. It's not really jumping out at me. I can see it, but I don't know. So I think then if she has Bane, I think we want to include the opposite essentially of Bane is going to be Bless. That one is giving a boost to your teammates in the same way that it gives a penalty for Bane to creatures around. So that one is very applicable. All right, what do we have next? Bless. Blink is like a transporting Blinding Smite is another paladin thing. Blur would add um, multiple kind of shimmering images to boost the defense. Calling Lightning, I don't think so. Charm Person, I'm definitely going to give her Charm Person because I do think that she would probably use her ability to do that from time to time. This can be kind of a dangerous spell to try on certain people because if it's unsuccessful or when it wears off, it can backfire because the person knows that you charmed them, and so they can they can get mad if that kind of thing happens. You know. Okay. Next page. Circle of Power, Clairvoyance, Clone, Cloud of Daggers, Kill, Color Spray. Command. Command issues a one-word command to a creature. I think with Maureen's royal nature, I think the command is very applicable to her. I think that she would probably use that kind of almost like the use of the voice in Dune, right? That like it can push people or use the force in Star Wars. You give them only one word though, so you can say drop for a weapon or fall if you want them to just fall over. Or surrender if you want them to surrender, that sort of thing. So command, very useful, especially against those that have less wisdom or intelligence in order to resist it. Okay, now here we get down into some interesting ideas because I think that while I don't think that like communing with nature is really a thing, I do think that hmm I don't know about compulsion, no. But I do think that when we come down here into controlling water and controlling weather, I think that I want to give her both of those. So, we have a level 4 spell with control water, which can cause floods or rain or all kinds of different water-based effects. So, it's a very powerful spell especially in the right circumstances. We have control weather, which, as I said, she summons whole clouds of fog and things like that. This is, however, a high level spell. As she said, not only maybe 10 other people in the whole world could do what she does with that. And so this is something that it makes sense that it would be a high level spell. And it's the first one that takes 10 minutes to cast instead of being used as an action, which is essentially instantaneous or only a couple of seconds. So, let's see here. Range. I mean, it's centered on yourself, but I think it says take control of the weather within 5 miles of you. So it was big. It's big. Up to 8 hours. So that is a big one for sure. Counterspell, absolutely essential for just about any sorcerer, wizard, any major magic-based character. You want to be able to fight other magic users and not instantly be taken down by them. So you want to be able to cast counterspell, which will counteract or stop or nullify the actions, the spells of the spell. It's like just stop one spell from happening. And then if somebody casts another spell, you have to cast counterspell again, and someone can counterspell your counterspell. So you definitely can get some real interesting layers of sorceress combat going on in D&D. The range for counterspell is within 60 feet, and then it is not a concentration; it's instantaneous. Okay. Um, All right. Um, and then cure wounds is a vital one for anyone who is wanting to be a healer. So absolutely, we're gonna give her some cure wounds and probably some of the high level or like more advanced versions of cure wounds too. So cure wounds, an action range on that is someone that you can touch, and then that one is also instantaneous. Okay. So and we have detect thoughts. I don't know about that one. I do think that arcane gate and dimension door would probably go a little bit hand in hand. Dimension door can be used a little bit more easily in a tactical or combat sort of environment because you can move about um, in basically like straight directions, several hundred feet, up to 500 feet. So you can definitely zip around with this. So something Moiraine would probably do, although not something that she necessarily did in the books. So 500 feet and instantaneous. You learn how to spell some fun 4-syllable words, 5-syllable words when you're DMing. Detect thoughts. I don't know about that. Detect magic, though. I know I skipped out of the alphabetical order just a teeny bit here, but we're gonna do it anyway. I think detect magic would be something that she would absolutely be able to do. So that's it's giving her quite a repertoire here, and um, this is something as a GM, if I was playing with this character, this is something that you have to think about when you are a high level spellcaster. A lot of times you have spell slots and things like that. So I do think that you would want to limit the ability for Moiraine to cast these spells. You don't want her casting control weather just willy-nilly. See, if you look up at the top here, level 8 only has one spell slot. So you get to cast that once, and then you need to rest before you can use that spell again. And I do think it would be really important to implement that, even though it's not necessarily a factor in the Wheel of Time. I think a lot of Moraine's spells she kind of does get tired from and things, but she will keep going. She keeps casting things multiple times, and so I think that um, that she would probably need to abide by the spell slot rules. You know, a way to keep someone from being OP. The other thing too is which of these spells does she actually know? You know, like as a wizard, as a sorcerer, you only have a limited number of spells in your vocabulary. And so something else to just like not get too carried away with, right? We don't want to just give her every single spell that we see, but I do want to make it as accurate to Maureen as possible. She's level 11. She's an advanced, strong character. So I think this is good. We're gonna keep adding some spells, but we won't go too much longer because I don't want to get, like I said, I don't want to get too out of hand. Um, Divination, Divine Favor, Dominate Person. I don't really think so. Dream, Druidcraft, Earthquake. You know, that one's definitely something that she has done in the books. This is another level 8 spell, though, so she would be able to do it only one time before needing to take a break and rest and get that strength back. So, it's 500 feet range, concentration, and then that can last for up to a minute. A whole solid minute doesn't seem like a long time, but when you're in the midst of an earthquake, it seems like an eternity. So that's huge. Um, I don't know what else we have here on this page. Fear, Featherfall, no. Find the path. Mm, I think she just kind of, in the books at least, she seems to already know kind of where things are and how to find them. So, here's where we want to be careful not to get too out of hand. So I will actually give her Firebolt as a cantrip. So I'm going to put C. Actually, I'll put C/0 on that so people know. And cantrips are spells that you can use basically anytime it's your turn and you aren't using up any of those spell slots. So this would be something that she could just kind of use in combat or in certain situations where she needs to just kind of zap something with fire. And then I don't. She was not throwing massive fireballs. She would maybe burn something with fire, so I think that's where Firebolt comes in good. But she was not necessarily throwing fire. I'm not going to give her Fireball. I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to get too out of hand. However, there definitely was a time in the books where she created a just like wall of flame, and so we will give her Firestorm in addition to Firebolt, and that is, as you can see, takes 7d10 fire damage. So that is a hugely damaging spell when used in especially a crowded battlefield. That could be devastating. So I think then the only other one here that I'm curious about, yeah, let's do Fog Cloud because it's a lower level spell. It's not as big as Control Weather, but it gives that same flavor so that the character still feels the same, but in just like a smaller kind of scale, right? Um, all right. We're getting there, guys. We're getting there. Force Gauge, Foresight, Foresight. Oh, it's touching someone else and giving them the ability to see the future. Don't think so. However, we will do another cantrip for Moiraine called Friends. That's something that she definitely, I think, would use a little bit of her power to kind of manipulate people's perceptions, not in a malicious way necessarily, but in a way that would allow her to become friends or get people to trust her. So we are going to jump down to heal. That one's going to be big. It's a level 6. So not something that she would be able to do very often, but there's a reason for that. As you can see if you read the description over there, it actually will heal the intended target for a flat 70 hit points and ends the blinded, deafened, and poisoned conditions. And then if you choose to use it as a spell slot higher, you can add 10 hit points to it. It just is a huge block of healing. Huge, huge, huge. So not something that is going to be able to be used a lot. So limited use on that. Um, but then right below it, you see a much lower level spell called Healing Word. Healing Word is a bonus action, and that will heal a target for 2d4 plus 4. So, I mean, it's still a decent chunk of healing. It's enough to like heal a scratch or a small wound on someone, but not the bring someone from the brink of death all the way to full health the way that heal is. So it's a much smaller, weaker version of heal, but still good. And then if we scroll down, I think then the other one that I was thinking about on this page is heroism. Heroism is a enchantment spell that gives someone bravery. I mean, that's all it is. It inspires someone to be brave, makes them immune to being frightened for a short period of time, and gives them a small little sliver of bonus health as well. So it's nothing to sneeze at. It is absolutely heroism can be very, very useful, especially when you're dealing with something that might be incredibly terrifying to most characters, especially, like that the creature I was talking about earlier that pursues the main characters in the Wheel of Time is called a murder all, and they are these cloaked figures that just inspire fear in anyone that looks at them. Some people are literally just frozen in fear on the spot, and so having that heroism would help to counteract that. Um, I think let's see here. Lesser restoration, um, ending certain other uh, different status effects like deafened and paralyzed and such would also be uh, valuable to have. So we're going to add in that lesser restoration and keep moving on. Okay. Um, locate creature. Yes. No spoilers, but yes. This is fitting. So we'll do look at creature, give Maureen the ability to describe or name a creature that's familiar to you. You can sense the direction of that creature's location. So allows for tracking for a short period of time. Um, mass cure wounds. Let's do that one too. And then I think we're getting closer to the end. I don't have many other spaces, and I don't really want to give her too many other spaces. There is one spell in particular that I want to try and find an equivalent for. If you are readers of the Wheel of Time, you know the spell I'm talking about. So I want to see what I can find here. Um, Moonbeam is an option, but I feel like it is too limited. For those of you who may be wondering what I'm talking about, there is a ability in the Wheel of Time called Bale Fire, Bale Fire, and it is essentially a ray of blinding white fire that can erase someone from existence. It's described as burning off their thread from the pattern of the universe. Each person's life is considered a thread that the wheel weaves as a loom in this pattern of the universe. And balefire essentially is said to burn that thread, and if the balefire is strong enough, it burns the thread backwards, so that the balefire can actually burn someone and kill them in a way that it kills them before they actually were dead. I don't know how much that makes sense, but in essence, it can rewind time. If that person did something, then you balefire them, then what they just did, if the balefire is strong enough, can be reversed. So it's an incredibly powerful thing, but it was used in the Age of Legends to burn entire cities to the ground, and it almost destroyed the entire pattern of the universe because of how it reacts or how it affects the pattern of the universe. So um, I do want to find something similar. Uh, but I just don't know if there is something that's high enough level. So I can actually narrow this down by level and look for high level spells that would fit this idea. So I might end up having to do that. However, um, that's yeah, I think Sunbeam is probably gonna be it. Sunbeam and Sunburst. Let's do both. Let's give Moiraine both abilities. All right. So Sunbeam is level 6. Still pretty high. To only be able to use that 2 times before needing to rest. So pretty strong. Does what does it say? 6d8 radiant damage and is blinded until the start of the next turn. And then you can hold that beam in place for up to a minute. So, I mean, that's huge. Huge, I say. And then Sunburst is level 8, and that creates basically just an explosion centered on you of radiant damage, 12d6, and is blinded for a minute. So that's just. Oh, it's not even centered on yourself. You can center it on a point within 150 feet of yourself. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So that's, I mean, yeah, you can cause this explosion kind of wherever, you know. Okay, we're gonna stop there with our spells and magic for Moiraine. We have done a lot here with her. We have given her some uh, some great inventory, a few really interesting sorcery and magical abilities, as well as just a whole list of spells here. Oh, before we go, let's fill in that spell save DC. So she will be using her charisma as her main spell save, and that will be the baseline of 10 plus the plus 4. So she gets DC plus 14. And then the spell attack bonus is going to be plus 8 because she gets charisma plus her modifier. And then spell casting modifier is plus 4 because that is her charisma right there. So that will be her character sheet for the most part. There may be a few things. Oh yeah, her HP and hit dice. Okay, so we won't want to forget her health. She has 63 hit points, which is pretty substantial. And then she has 3d8 and 8d6 for her hit dice. So you can um, list those out right there, and then they can keep track of which ones they spend for their healing abilities and such. I'm not going to list off her weapons and damage cantrips. People can do that if they want, or just keep a list of their magic spells. As I said, if I was a game master running this character, I would probably type up a sheet for Moraine's magic portfolio, almost like a spell book, right? So that the player knows what they have, what they can use, and then they can use their character sheet to keep track of how many times they can use those spells. So, just an extra tool to provide your players to help make the process just a little bit easier. So, as you can see, this process took a little bit longer than it does for some of our main fighter or more martial, physically based classes, magic classes tend to take a little bit more effort to create and come up with because they have these spells available to them. You really need to think about what your character knows and what they're capable of doing. So that's kind of what we just did. We took a little bit of extra time during this character creation to think about Moiraine's abilities for spells and such. So, as I said, she does have some items in her inventory that would boost her magical abilities. I'm not going to give away spoilers, so I'm not going to mention uh, any of those in her inventory right now. So we're just going to leave what she has as what she has. And then if you want to play this in a game, then you can add any extra things you want to Maureen to make it more kind of unique to you and how you want to play her. So this is how I would put her sheet together. She's a wonderful character, very amazing, strong woman, and really well written and great. So I would again please go read The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson. They are wonderful books. They do take some time commitment. It's 14 books, but they are absolutely wonderful novels and worth the time if you are a fantasy fan. So please go do that. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know this was a longer video, as I said, but I appreciate you hanging out with me if you're still here. Please give me a like, comment, subscribe. Let me know down below what other characters you think would be fun to do in this, and I would love to do it. I plan on continuing this series. It's really fun. I really enjoy it. So yeah, please let me know if you have any suggestions. Also, as I said, I am a professional game master and personal chef. If you are in the Denver area, I do a thing called Dinners and Dragons, where I will come to your house as a personal chef with fresh ingredients bought that day, prepare a meal in your home in a fantasy medieval theme. Uh, present it to you and your friends or family in a family dining kind of setting, family style, I should say, with like the big dishes in the center of the table, and then afterwards clean up and run an adventure for you there at your home with full maps and miniatures and figurines and all that fun stuff. So if you are in the Denver area, please let me know. I would love to do something like that for you. Also, if you have any interest in joining any of my online games, I will post some links for that down below as well. So thank you so much for being here, like I said, and we will catch you next time for another pop culture character sheets. All right, take care, y'all.